everybody. We have hit our first month being back in Barbados, which is a little bit hard to believe.
We enjoyed that first month so much that I actually decided to sneak a trip back to California before we were even a month in. What day was that I left?
First day of school for the kids, which was September 10th.
What was their first day of school like?
First day of school was so awesome. There was no hesitation for either kid to get back into things. They had an orientation beforehand, which was helpful because it kind of eased them back in. So when the first day of school came, they were so excited. They were so excited to see their friends, the teachers. It's been an incredible experience and easing back into life, really.
Their friends were also very excited to see them. So it's been a fantastic journey back home, reconnecting with our community, with friends, with different folks, and we're still working through that, but been catching up in little pockets here and there, and it's been great. So why did I go to California on the day that the kids were starting school? Well, we couldn't plan this out, but my mom had a really, really important birthday. She was turning 70, and I didn't want to not be there for her 70th birthday. And the flights that made the most sense were me taking off on the day that the children started school. She had no idea I was coming. Absolutely no idea I was coming, so left out of here. Just to give you all some idea about travel back to California, there's an 8 o'clock that flies out in the morning to Miami, and then it gets you into San Francisco. If you're just doing 2 flights, you can get into San Francisco by about 8 o'clock, 8:30 that same night. West Coast time, so it's pretty late Barbados time. It's a pretty long full day, and that includes about a 4 or 5 hour stopover in Miami. So I made the trek, walked into my mom's room after my brother had picked me up, and she had no idea. She had no idea what was going on. She thought she saw a ghost. She was like, "This Darren, that can't be you. There's no way you could be here now. You just came back to Barbados, and the kids are starting school today. How could you be here?" And then it all started clicking. We're here. I think we're gonna pull this off. She's got no idea. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I told her. Yeah.
Darren? Oh my God! My God, who's opening the door? Oh my gosh, hi baby!
Happy birthday,
Oh
Mom.
my God! Oh my gosh! Oh my goodness! Oh my God! I'm gonna have my scene go.
A really amazing time, and we get to celebrate her. I think I was one of the missing dots to make her 70th full. It would have been even better if Lisa and the children could have come as well, but hey, we just had to do the best we could do, and she was very, very happy. I was able to get out there and have my dad and my 2 brothers and myself there, so it's pretty interesting. As you get older in life, the ability to just have that time that you might have had as children with your parents and just the siblings, that just becomes scarcer and scarcer. It's actually a big part of why our family makes just our family dinner rhythm, at least doing that, just the 4 of us together, at minimum of 3 to 4 nights a week with just us. We make that such a priority because you blink and that time is gone. And at least in our family, there's really incredible conversations that happen.
I was going to say, that's when all the conversations come up and when you learn what's really going on in the kids' lives and with them emotionally. It just comes out over a family dinner in a relaxed setting.
It does, and it sometimes opens up the questions to, oh, Mom, Dad, can you tell me a little bit more about that? What was that like? Or they hear something about your childhood. Oh, Mom, I didn't realize you were a softball pitcher. What was that like? And going through and then telling the stories of growing up, or what their grandparents were like when they were in the parenting mode and telling those stories. And that's a key ritual that we find is still very important. And, you know, in some ways, the way that life seems to be going for many, hey, to each their own. It just seems like there's a lot more pressure on the table for all of the competing activities, and the ability to just sit down and have a family dinner gets to be a little difficult. We've witnessed that, and we've experienced that firsthand. And we've really tried to make that a priority and a pillar in our family. So on Mom's trip back in California, it was a whirlwind. Was in the Bay Area, San Francisco area for a little bit of time. Got to drive through some parts of Oakland on the way that were just, it was mind-blowing. I mean, honestly, we were looking, and I just couldn't believe I was in the U.S., quite honestly. And you'll see some of that footage in here. Outside of that, we had a fantastic time. Like I said, bonding with the family, getting to really celebrate Mom. They did an incredible hike. For those of you familiar with California and Nevada, there's an area called Lake Tahoe. Absolutely beautiful. So we went up there, stayed in that area for the weekend. We were in the mountains, got a little hiking in, got down to a portion of the lake. Of course, if I see cold water, I can't help myself. So I was in the lake taking a nice long plunge on over the weekend while we're there. We just had a magnificent time. Got to see a really incredible friend of ours as well that we made over the past year, who's going through a little bit of a cancer journey on their road also. And it's been amazing seeing them and how nature and some life changes they've made have started to really amplify the healing process for their journey. We've been kind of connected together and kind of walking that path together. And getting to be in their presence while in California too was really cool.
And we've shared, on that note, we've shared a book that was introduced to us very early on in our journey called Radical Remission. And that's a lot of the talk that we have with this family is we said, hey, it might be a good read for you as well. And I think it's a good read, just not even if you're going through a major medical diagnosis, but just on the whole as a human to live the best way possible and for longevity. It's been a transformative book. And when I think of them and what they've done in their cancer journey, it's very much in line with that book and a holistic approach, kind of similar to how we've approached the cancer journey as well.
It can be cliche to go through an experience like we've gone through and say, oh yeah, now I found what matters in life. And here's the thing, whether it's cliche or not, it's real. It's happened. We've seen it with many others that has happened with. And there's no reason we can't start doing that before we go through a situation like this. And if we do some of the training unbeknownst to us before we need that, that background, that mindset, it pays dividends. Many of you might wonder, why would you be crazy enough to do cold water plunges? And I've been doing them for over a decade now, or actually nearly a decade now. And the answer that I give to that is because during Lisa's cancer journey, I would go into the cold water in the middle of winter and go plunge and different things. Was it easy? No, it was hard. It didn't feel great the first 30 seconds, 40 seconds, minute. And yet, time after time in doing it, I knew I could do it. And it would actually get to a point where it felt good and I would be okay. And it actually was conditioning my stress response. So for years, unbeknownst to me, I had been building my own stress management and resiliency models. That's just one technique. I have several other things that I do. And those components carried me through the season to make sure that I could support her, support the children, and going through, and honestly, being an entrepreneur, for my fellow business owners out there that know what that's like, there are days of high highs and incredible lows within like 30 minutes of each other. It's just crazy. So building that grit and that muscle of resiliency, those physical components and different pieces like that can be really beneficial. Doing something that maybe we don't enjoy right out of the bat, that could really help grow those pieces and make us realize, I can do that. I can do that. I'm going to be okay. And I can get to the point of where I can be breathing, I can be calm and get to a calm state in a moment where there's an initial shock of stress. So that's just me, doing what I do at times, and kind of sharing some of those pieces. But, do what works for you. I
haven't adopted the cold water plunges as of yet. I like the warm water.
I'm never preaching, telling people you got to do this. I'm just telling you these are things I've done and they worked. And I didn't realize they were going to be so necessary to carry me through a really hard journey of life that we went through. What else, Lise, do you have to say for their first week of school? They were getting resettled in, activities, friends, all that sort of stuff. I was gone for that first week, but what was it like for them? What was it like for you on their first day?
Yeah, well, getting back into a routine has been great, but the first day for me was super emotional because I dropped them off and I left the school and I just had tears streaming down my face, and it was just full of gratitude. And we keep coming back to the gratitude piece, but it's so ingrained that for so long, this whole journey, our hope was to get back here, get them back, into this sort of living. This just feels right for us. And so to drop them off and see their excitement, and I can't even put it into words how happy, content, at peace they feel. And we both, we feel that way as well. But leaving the school, I was just so emotional that I can't believe we're finally here, because at so many times along the journey, it felt like this was so far off. And we were finally here, and just pure gratitude.
One of the things that's been interesting in speaking with the children since I've been back, because I've been kind of just catching up on, hey, guys, what's it been like? Kira has shared she feels very challenged in a good way to think critically and to be creative in some of the classes that she's having here, and she's enjoying that. Not saying that doesn't exist in other places. I'm just saying that's one of the areas that she's been really excited about in her journey here and in the schooling that she's getting here. That's a part that really kind of lights her fire. Other observations that we've had, and we've talked to other families, other expat families that have been here, and local families that are here, the kids seem more entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
In terms of ideas. They're like, ooh, could we set up a business like this? Or what would it be like to set up a restaurant? Or just all sorts of different ideas. So they're asking more of those questions here and thinking more about that here. And I don't know if that's something that's of interest to any of you or not. For our family, that's something that we think is pretty cool, and something that at least we want to show them and expose them to. But on their own, it feels like less of a push from having to expose them to those sorts of things, and far more of them saying, like, asking the questions of, well, what could this be? Could we do this? What could this be like? And they just see that, and that's been really interesting for me to observe and just kind of hear about since I've been back.
Yeah, Preston wants, of course, to open a pizza shop.
Pizza Preston.
So of course it's always around food. So we're encouraging them to think of unique ideas that could serve the community that might not already be present. So just getting their minds spinning.
That's right.
Fun to see.
That's right. And I mean, that's pretty simply put, kind of some of the key update areas that we've had in coming back. Lisa can't help herself, and it seems like she's stubbed her toe about 5 times since I left. The same toe, so, working.
So we might have a video on going to
Cindy
get an x-ray.
We might. We don't know. She's working through it. Nobody's inflicting this on her. She's been choosing to walk into things. Things are just attacking her.
I was making the bed, and I hit my toe on the bedpost. And one thing that a result of chemo, going through chemo and the medication I'm on currently, it has a tendency to have your bones become very brittle. So I've noticed that in the last week, the day he left, I hit my toe and immediately it swelled up, turned purple. And then it started to feel a little bit better. And last night I hit my toe again. So it looks a little, I don't think I want to show it, but
Yeah.
so we might have a medical run going tomorrow. So
We'll see.
stay tuned for a possible video on.
Just try not to jam it again.
Yes.
That's the key. So one of the other things that we can share with you as just something that we did, because this comes up. Yeah, I traveled back to California. We've done this in the past before we even did this whole journey of moving to Barbados. Travel was always a really big thing for us as a family. So people would ask, like, how do you travel? How do you do this and that? And
You must be rich.
And we drove, like, to date, the newest vehicle we've ever owned was made in 2008. So we're like, haven't even advanced past like the key technology.
We love the key.
We love the key.
The touch.
The touch
buttons are intimidating as all
I
heck.
honestly don't know if I'm smart enough to drive those. I'm like, I got a key, I got a gear,
Yeah.
we're good.
Yeah.
But I tell you these things because one of the habits that we built, right? And there's a saying, I think Jim Quick said this. He's the author of a book called Limitless. He said, first we create our habits, then our habits create us. So real simple nugget here on travel and in those pieces. We built a habit years ago when it was just us, when we first got married. We had an account that was like a travel fund, and it effectively each month we automatically put just a little bit in there, so we always knew we'd be able to do a trip at some point, because it was just something that we knew. We treated it actually as a monthly expense, and kind of going through knowing fully well that was just baked in, and that could be used for if that was a bigger trip or if that was going to be a smaller trip. When we lived in California for a long time, we would, before the children were born, we would actually travel to the Caribbean in the summer, which is off season. And then we skipped a couple of Thanksgivings, told the families that we actually did one Thanksgiving with your parents in Italy. And the reason for that is November, that time of year, nobody's going from the US to those parts. So we were able to do 2 trips for what would typically be the cost of one in high season. Now this was years ago. So these are just little things that we did, was finding out when off season was, to just stretch the dollars a little bit more. And then when we made the decision to make the move down here, we did the exact same thing. The habit was already built, and we set it up as an emergency travel fund that we maintain just in case there's any medical emergencies, anything for family that we need to get back on a dime. And that's something that we've just continued to do over the years, because we never want there to be a situation where there's an emergency or there's a parent's big birthday, big life event, and we're like, oh, we can't go, it's too far, it's like, no, we're the ones that plan to do this. We want to still be able to stay connected when we need to.
A lot of people do ask, how do you travel? And I think with the travel fund, we call it the travel fund in our bank account, we prioritize that, and we don't do gifts. I don't know that we've ever done gifts for birthdays, anniversaries, that sort of thing. We do experiences. And so anything that you'd be putting towards a gift of some sort goes into this fund. So
That's right.
I think it's just a natural way to grow that, and before you know it, you have a decent fund, and then it doesn't create any stress when you say, okay, but what do we want to do? Where do we want to go? And you just dip into the fund, or, if there is an emergency situation, we've had that come up as well, where, you're not stressing. You're like, okay, this is what it's there for. So
this is life doing what life does. Life happens. All these things happen. So we have to be.
I think it's just being intentional about
That's
it,
right.
and
That's right. So that's one tip. Final piece that I'll say, like, about California and about some of those elements are, when we were back there, also got to see some of our really, really good friends that are back there, including the family at the wedding that Lisa and I met at. One of our really, really close family friends mutually, and one of my childhood friends from, like, college.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to think. So that was amazing. It's always amazing getting to see them, getting to be with them, and going through. So it was a blend of that, and of course I had to do some work too. So had some work meetings and different things like that while I was out. But
It was a quick trip.
c'est la vie. And what we'll close on is recently Trevor Noah and Simon Sinek sat down and had a conversation, and we came across this video, and we watched it the other night. It's about 24 minutes. Maybe we can drop a link to it.
Link it in the description.
In the description. It's so powerful. They were just talking not about leadership, not about politics. They were talking about human connection, about friendship. And so many of the nuggets that they dropped in there really resonated with us and our reasons for being here, for making the choices that we have, and how we're able to connect here in the community that we've been able to build here in Barbados. So much of it resonated because they were talking about the environment in many ways, and how friendship evolves from the environment, and the work that we have to put into it. You know, there's an old saying, or to have a friend, you have to be a friend, right? So there was a lot of really useful nuggets that were in there. We, as mentioned, we'll drop that in there. One of the ones that I wanted to share with you that really struck a chord. It struck a chord with me, and Trevor Noah loved it so much. He's told Simon Sinek, say that again. I need you to say that again. And I'm just going to read it to you. I've got my notes here. It says, you don't build trust by offering help. You build trust by asking for help. When we're in that space, we feel a lot of times that I just got to handle this on my own. That's what we've been taught, many of us.
Yeah.
Many men have been taught that you just got to go through. And yet, when we ask for help, we're inviting others in, and we're giving them the gift to show up, to serve. Think about it when somebody's asked you for help and when you've been able to help somebody else out. Think of how good it feels for you. And when we're asking, we're giving others the opportunity to pour into us, to actually have this exchange of love, of connection. And that's really, really a powerful experience in kind of going through. Definitely worth checking into. I'm going to paraphrase here the last part, and it's, a person is a person because of the people. And that's in line with Jim Rohn's quote of, you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. That was a quote that I referenced in my TED Talk, and then I turned that into the question of, what if we're also the average of the 5 places where we spend the most time? And that's getting into the environmental place. So I think with that, we'll leave you.
Yes. Till next time.
Till next week. Take care.